All right, good morning and welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about a wide range of topics, including inflation, the housing market, shortages, and some of the stock market dropouts we've been seeing. Just to be clear, guys, this video is made with the contention of talking about housing. And if you don't know this, I'm the owner of Section8Consulting.com. I work with low income clients, but I don't want to turn the video political or religious or any form of extremism. Okay, it's just that I think I want to talk about how that's going to affect the clients and those that are subscribers of the channel. So I don't think that the video was actually designed to be mainstream. However, if it does, then that is what it is. So we have experienced a great deal in the past couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and with the pandemic, clearly there have been some very big effects on the market. One of the things that we've noticed is we have an incredible housing shortage. I guess right now we're looking at having a presidential decree where you see Biden and they're trying to increase the number of houses. So with the lack of housing, it's creating a market with high inflation and interest rates. So let's talk about the interest rates real quick. So one thing we've been seeing is economists have been talking about the pandemic's housing boom and, of course, the shortage. But one thing that we've been seeing is interest rates have essentially spiked from the 3.4. We've seen as high as 7%. And right now, I think it's rolling around at around 4.5%. It's pretty serious amounts for those of you that are considering purchasing a home. And for those of you that are low income and utilizing vouchers towards the purchase of a home, you could be purchasing a home at the worst time possible. One of the factors is we're looking at the U.S. inflation, which right now stands at 8.5% or a little bit higher. And that was as of March. And to be frank with you, it is the highest inflation rate we've probably seen since the 80s when we had that recession. Do I think there's a recession right now? I think that things are brewing. I think that our country's a little bit of in a shitstorm. And I think that it's going to get very real. And I think some of the big factors of all these consequences are going to play out throughout the summer and possibly into Christmas time. One of the other things I want to bring up is the stock market. A lot of people don't think that stock market and the things that happen there have a true effect on housing, but it does. And as we've seen, we've had a 6-week drop. We're probably 2/3 of where we likely would have been during. So if you looked at analytics, what happened back in the 2008, 2007 crisis with housing, we're at 2/3 of that right now. So one more third, and we're actually going to be in a serious housing bubble that would be pretty explosive. And then you combine that with a lack of housing. People are selling everything and they're buying it all up, and then there's nothing to buy without having to basically pay 20% over market. So it's absurd, right? Again, we're dealing with product shortages. So as you know, we've been fighting this war and funding it with a few dollars we have left in this nation. And so we have Ukraine, and we're dumping a lot of stuff out there, including money and other funds. Meanwhile, where we're still struggling here in the U.S., you look at what's happened to Walmart. They took an 11% drop. It means the biggest retailer on the planet it's essentially just dropped 11% of its value, around $18 billion. That's a big hit, and it's continuing. This may ultimately be a test of the win or failure rate of Walmart itself. And so the consequences of these shortages and the shipping lanes and our ability to get products from other countries. We just lost a contractual agreement essentially with India and its wheat. They shut off all their wheat to our nation. We got baby formula we're having to import from Europe. So we're seeing some of the staple items in our country vanish off the shelves. Now, I just want to say, this is not an extremist point of view. I'm just stating the factual basis of what I've already read from other news agencies. But the culminating effect is we're seeing a lot of failures in a lot of areas in this country. And I think that this summer is going to be a difficult time. For many of you that are clients of mine or low income and dealing with low income housing and vouchers, you may find the ability to get vouchers. I think it's standing Right now, we're at 10, maybe 15% of all housing authorities being open, and what little they have to offer is just very few vouchers. For those of you that need that, because you're a senior, you're retired, or whatever it may be, including disability. So we're seeing a very severe crunch in that area. States that are dealing with the biggest problems right now is the state of California. The state of Texas has actually been affected. Um, and I did put up a chart today on our community page within YouTube. And in that page, it shows a lot of big streaks. Now, another area of the country that's been severely impacted by a lot of this has been the Upper East Coast. You're talking about from Maine all the way down to Washington, D.C. Inflation, prices, housing, lack of affordable housing, and so on are all very serious right now. So I'm going to take a look at our comments real quick because this is a live video as of 10:30 a.m. Texas time, and that's going to be on 5/18/2022. Gia Williams, hello and good morning. Mister says, good morning, Jay, and chat. Good morning. So, one thing I want to do is I always, during the January run, when we get new federal funds, especially in election years and non-election years, I like to warn people. And since this video is made primarily for those that are general subscribers of my channel that happen to be usually low income and so on, this is a severe warning for this summer that it's going to get very, very bad. And I would expect that nearly all housing authorities will likely be without funds. And I expect this to carry through probably October, September, October. So I'm hoping that the market cools by September and October, but I don't see it being a real party all the way through Christmas. This is going to be a very difficult end of year, especially for those of you that are my clients. We're having spectacular problems in every major city across the U.S. right now, including contentious and territorial areas like Puerto Rico. So, if you're out there and you're trying to deal in this housing market, whether it's ownership, I would suggest to you that not approaching the home ownership program through housing authorities until at least September and October. If you're looking for vouchers and other things like subsidy housing and so on, and you're not on the general market, I would suggest to you that right now would be a very perilous time. Uh, you probably want to get started now or try again towards fall because the summer is already proven to be with extraordinary circumstance. And I think what we've all come to realization is that the pandemic created many problems over that 2 or 3 year period. We're still kind of in it, but I think the realization is the biggest wave of the problems are now just arriving. What we thought was going to be the high points of the effect of the pandemic and on our economy isn't just an economy issue with the United States. It is now a problem worldwide. Even China is affected by inflation. The UK has seen a broadening 44% inflation. It is a worldwide problem right now. We're doing economically bad on a global scale. Now, I'm not suggesting every country is seeing that problem, no, but the culminating effect of a wide range of problems hitting everywhere. Hell, even North Korea and Kim Jong there, they've been decimated by the virus. It got in their country, has run loose, and now even they're begging for the assistance of, other allies around the world. So I'm going to roll back to comments real quick. Gene Williams says, yes, I live in the DMV, and I can see the serious impact and lack of food and shelves. Yeah, I think the consequences are pretty serious, and Walmart was a last holdout for keeping prices low. Now, Walmart just got hit with the staggering or an eye-popping 11% drop in their own stock value, which means that Walmart at this point has no other choice than to raise prices. And I think those raises in prices across all foods and goods would likely be fairly big. And I think that the bigger effect will play out during the holidays. So if we think prices are high right now, and I think all retailers are raising them, I think that you're going to see something you've never probably seen in a long time, and that's extraordinary pricing across all retail markets, probably starting during the holiday season because they're acting out of desperation. And to be frank with you, we've seen, hell, even Netflix. You take a look at Netflix right now, that company, look, they're facing almost bankruptcy. I was looking at cryptocurrencies, For those of you that are younger that know what cryptocurrency is, the market's been dropping precipitously. And that means that people are no longer investing. Same thing that's going on. People are jumping out of these markets, and we're seeing a precipitous drop, but it's a very even drop. At least it's not like a bomb drop like the beginning of the pandemic where everybody just snatched the money all at one time. But, how far into the toilet must we go before we start to recover? At what point does this nation come to the understanding that we can continue to redefine what's happening as much as we want, skate around the topic, but at what point do you call it a recession? And there are many types of recessions, as you may know. They've actually given them kind of an acronyms and letters as the types of recessions. Some are quick and short, some are long, some are bleeding, kind of bleed over so period of time. Then there's fast recoveries. I think we will have a slow but arduous recovery. But where is the bottom? That's what I'm looking for in this market. Where is the bottom? At what point do we actually start the recovery process? So I'm going to jump back in the comments real quick. I see Honeybee. Good morning. How are you? Glad to see you in the channel. Lou Man and Shadow Boy. Glad to see you again back in the channel. How are you this morning? Walmart meats has risen dramatically. Sucks how their stock went down. The most crazy things. I fought for 4 weeks to get crackers to have with chili, Now, when I buy things, we all have to admit this. When we buy things now, since I had to wait 4 weeks to crackers, then we all know what I did with the crackers. I went and bought 4 more boxes. So we've all got into a hoarding effort because we never really know when the products will be available again. That's the thing. And some of the crazier things, So I think that's perpetuating itself, the fact that, I had to wait a month to get something. Now I'm going to buy 5. And so I think we all sometimes perpetuate our own problems with the product shortages. Tim says, also, my friend lives in Broward County. She was just approved for Section 8. She's having a really hard time. Well, as many of you know, if we talk about housing market, not mainstream, which means you're employed, you're not using subsidies, vouchers, or government assistance. But for those of you are, vouchers and so on, they've bought up a great portion of the market at this point, and these people they're buying these, they're not even renting them, and they're using them as investments. We're actually having to address this, I think, at a presidential and a congressional level, just to stimulate builders to build more houses because people have bought it all up. What's left? Well, you go out there and you try to buy a house, you're competing with 100 offers. You're trying to pay 20% over market on these houses. And then when the bubble pops, and what happens is you've overpaid for the house. 10 years from now, houses are considered an investment. 10 years later, you should be making money. Well, if you bought it for too much and 10 years pass, then all you did was break even for a decade, which makes it a terrible investment. And then you consider in factors of inflation and interest rates. And so what happens with that is if you're paying out 5, 6, and 7% interest, then the reality is on your mortgage payments, you're actually paying an incredible amount more than the value of the home. So 7% over a 30-year mortgage can end up costing you $100,000, $200,000 extra for a house that may not even be worth that in 15 years. So it's a terrible time. It's terrible times. Lumina Shadow Boy says, and what's up with the baby formula? So the inside out on the baby formula is one company had to recall a lot of their product for a number of different reasons, and it actually caused a crunch in the market. And I think the Similac and the rest of those, as I was reading. So right now we're actually having to import different types of formula from Nestle. So Nestle is actually importing formulas from Europe, since Europe has the closest inspection and safety rating that the U.S. does. It's a logical option. But one of the broader issues, we may start seeing problems with our supply and demand of wheat and other issues. Even cooking oils have become an issue because the countries that import to us can't do it. They're trying to actually hoard their own product. Then we put a lot of import. We went through a phase a couple of years back. Remember when we tried to basically embargo a lot of countries on imports, and now that has backfired. We're begging Venezuela for oil because of the issue with the war with the Ukraine and Russia. And so now we're having to backpedal on a lot of sanctions we put on countries and loosen those terms just so we can get and basically maintain our national stockpile of certain products and certain natural resources. So you look at all this. I wish we were talking about one thing. We can't because it's everything now. We're across what, five different topics, but the reality is all of these things, whether they're directly related or unrelated, have an effect on the housing market. And why is my focus on the housing market? Because the housing market, the most critical asset a human being owns throughout his lifetime is a car, a home. The second most is a car, and of course, your children. Look, if rents are going up 34% in the past year, another 17% by the end of this year, who the hell can afford to rent? It doesn't matter if you're on a voucher or if you're a normal person with a job trying to rent. Rents are going up and they're continuing to spike because, of course, the people that own the properties face the same inflation that you do. And so the logical choice would be that. The secondary issue I see is when housing authorities are under federal funding, the higher the rents go, the lower the budget, the quicker the budget evaporates. The housing authorities that issue these vouchers, and the more that money evaporates because of high rents means they cannot meet them. In other words, you're getting vouchers that are worthless. There are no properties valued at that. And right now, I would say the key point being for the video is we're now facing what I would call, or key, kind of key this term is we're reaching an inflation point for vouchers and subsidies. In other words, it's actually pricing people out the market. The vouchers do not have enough equity or money in them to sufficiently rent. And that's the bigger factor we're facing. I've got a lot of clients in California. Oh, well, I'm going to try to stick it out here, get a voucher here. Well, here's the problem. That voucher, halfway through your lease on renewal, the signing of the lease, it may not be enough to even cover the rent, especially with consideration of landlords being able to raise rents. They can raise it every 6 months, but a lot of you that are in the market that are low income and utilizing those vouchers do realize that you have to sometimes on your renewal ask for a reevaluation of your rent reasonableness. You have to keep track with the market. Unfortunately, I'm not certain that the housing authorities do have the federal budget to cover the change of that. So we need to do something probably at the congressional level to address that. In addition to that, I don't know if y'all have looked at the whitehouse.gov. They just issued a public report that they're doing a 5-year plan to increase or stimulate the purchase and building of homes, mostly the building of homes. In other words, because builders because of the cost of inflation on the materials they use to build the house, they're unable to even come close to meeting the demand. In other words, there's no incentive for builders to build houses. Now, an interesting perspective on that is builders that gave out loans to people to purchase their homes. And so they're going back to these people that purchase homes that are not meeting their notes and all, and they're offering to buy the home from them at no consequence. Okay, so you've got a mortgage with us. You bought one of our homes. You're barely able to even make your own mortgage. We will release you from the debt. And the reason they're doing that is because they can drop the house back on the market for a great deal more money. So now you've got lenders, rather than trying to foreclose on you, they're trying to say, hey, we'll forgive your debt. Just turn the house over to us. We'll pop it back on the market at a 30% adjusted spiked rate and sell it to the frenzy of people. Because right now, people are like piranhas trying to get houses. I had Wells Fargo mail me a letter. Hey, come on down and get a loan for a house. Why the hell would I want to buy a house at the worst possible condition in U.S. history? This is insane. So, all right, moving back to comments. Honeybee, this is Section 8 crisis especially. Oh, but let me tell you, this is really what the whole video is about. Even though I'm talking about a broad topic for a broad range of people, I am specifically talking to people in my channel that are subscribers that, deal with Section 8 and vouchers, because the economy as a whole and all these big factors truly affect our ability to get housing and to utilize the housing and to get through the process and, of course, funding. And so I want to go on and read the rest of Honeybee's comment. If in Section 8 crisis, especially if one's lease is not up till November or December, there is a loophole where I can move early to secure housing since the complex won't accept the program anymore. Understood. Violet RS, good morning and welcome to the channel. And she says hello and hello to you. Honeybee, I'm in Indiana for the question I asked. Thank you. I think I just covered that, Miss Honeybee, or Mr. I never know. So that's Mr. or Mrs. Honeybee. And thank you. You've got the interesting name of the day. So, well, guys, I think in closing of the video, I just want to say that the consequences, I believe, will be rather dire this summer. I don't see the bottom yet. In fact, I see that we're jumping up and down with this, and I think there's more to come. I'm hoping that this holiday season may finally be the bottom that we need to hit in order to start going up. Okay. Will it be a precipitous jump where we just recover very quickly? No. I think the effects of the pandemic will last us years, 5 to 10 years. I think this will be a slow march back up. And I think the consequence of that war is further strained us. This country has been through a lot in 20 years. You know, in 20 years, we have looked at the financial crisis of 2007. We've fought 2 wars. We're down back in another war. We're trillions in debt as a country. And then we get slammed by a pandemic. We started printing money like there's no tomorrow. This country's got so much debt now that it would take 100 years to pay it off. If we don't act on some of these big corporate giants that keep all that tax money hidden in places like Ireland, if we don't start changing these laws and start taxing these big companies the same way they tax middle America, then we may see a big change in who's this country. Look, we're a tax base in America of 3 to 400 million people. China's got a 2 billion almost. India, 2 billion. When those countries catch up, they're going to far surpass our tax base. In other words, if we're going to keep the world, if we're going to continue to hold the world's microphone and be able to have the U.S. dollar stand strong, then we're going to have to start increasing our population. And we're going to have to start doing something about leaking trillions of dollars to companies hiding money everywhere. That is a reality. I don't give a damn what political side you're on. If we don't start actually paying this debt down, our future's not going to be near what it's going to be in India, Africa, and China, where their tax base is double or triple ours. And when they figure out how to operate at the same level we do, we're going to have a big problem when another nation has 4 times the tax base we do. So the glory days of the U.S. may quite be in trouble at this point. And I think that economically speaking, on a global scale, I think we're all kind of in trouble. Every nation in this world is struggling right now to get through all of this. And I don't think we can really just take another hit, another war, another pandemic right now. We need a good 10 or 20-year break from all of this. We really need shit to slow sail really, really nicely for a while because we're in so much jeopardy. And this Christmas, people are going to be burning money they ain't got. People are facing so many crises financially. It's ridiculous. And the last thing in closing this, even the credit bureaus have made a change starting July 1st. Those of you that have medical debt will have it all wiped out. So they made 3 essential changes for medical debt. Any debt that's under $500 will be automatically removed for credit reports. So that'll remove about $1 trillion of debt from those of you that just struggle with medical bills. Bills that over $500, if you negotiate a plan with the medical debt and you pay it off, the credit bureaus will no longer keep it under 7 years. When a medical debt has now been paid off, they will completely remove it. And that should enable about 1/3 of Americans, those of you that can afford to negotiate and pay off some of that debt, that will unwind your credit report from being screwed. Okay. But we may need to take more aggressive actions like the city of New York that has now lowered the credit reporting standards to 3 years. So if you really did wreck your credit and you live in areas like New York where they passed at the state level, that they can no longer report debts over such a lengthy period of time of 7 years, that might be what we need to start doing in this nation, at least temporarily. All right, so I'm going to jump back to comments and I'm going to wrap out the video. Michelle Hyatt, do you think Section 8 will raise market rent for 2023? I think the feds are going to have to change it. When I say the feds, I mean the Department of HUD, to urban development. Okay, I think that's going to be a serious issue in the financial for the feds to consider, because if not, that will render nearly every voucher in the country useless in another 12 months. And that is the thing what we're facing right now, is those of you in subsidies and those of you that are utilizing a Section 8 voucher, no matter what kind, it may effectively actually render all these vouchers useless if people cannot pay rent. I can't even say this gentleman's name, so we'll call you Not Pippin. Thanks. I will see your next video, hopefully as a subscriber. Well, we'd love to have you. And it looks like Anyways has commented, the corporate land grab is the most concerning. Yes, and I think that we're not a. If we continue to allow billions to buy up vast swatches of America, including houses, where they hold it, when I drive around the city of Houston, one thing that I've noticed, people are buying whole neighborhoods and nobody's in the houses. This bullshit of buying houses and not even letting people rent them, just holding them on the market, has got to stop. And I think that that's part of what the Biden administration is trying to address. So I'm going to bring up one more topic. At this point, I'm ready for an election. I don't care what political side they're on. We need somebody more effective in this office, okay? Period. That's just my view. I don't care. I don't give a damn if it's a Democrat or a Republican in this presidential office. We need somebody that's aggressive, okay? Super aggressive at this point. We can't do this passive shit, all right? Sleepy Joe, Friendly Joe, whatever, Democrat or not, we've got to have somebody that's aggressive. So, we're between two extremes. We got Trump on one side. We got Biden there. So one's extreme. The other one's not extreme enough. We've got to get somebody out here that really understands the heartbeat of America. We've also got to stop electing elderly people to get in there. Look, got nothing against Trump, got nothing against Biden, but the reality is people in their 80s, look, they're not the heartbeat of America. We need somebody that's young, that's aggressive, that's educated, that's been through the system, and we got to quit electing based on these crazy and ridiculous ideas of popularity and all that other shit. We need people in here that can actually do the fucking job. That's the reality, This has got to stop. We can't have fucking celebrities running the country. We can't have people from the nursing home running the country. We need people that are young enough to understand what the pulse of America is. And hiring people that are 70 and 90 years old to be in the fucking office is not going to get it. Because the parallels with these people in their dead age, they're either too tired or too extreme. So we need somebody. I don't give a shit if you hire him from Mars, as long as the guy is good at running economics. We need somebody with a powerful economic background. We don't need somebody with a lot of politics. We don't need sensationalism. We need somebody that understands economics in this country so we can start unwinding all this shit and start dealing with it. So that's my opinion. Okay? Hate me or love me. Shit, man. You've got to get to reality with this stuff. You really do. All right, guys. I've enjoyed talking with you this morning, and I'm going to get back to work. I think we'll have another video. Let's see. We're going to do a video. Today's Wednesday, right? Might pop in Thursday, do one. I think I'm going to address landlords again, because I've been trying to expand to address more of you guys that are investors and stuff like that, to encourage you to consider some of the different types of people that you could have renting from you. And so I think I wanted to address that. So I've enjoyed talking with you guys, and we'll see you again possibly Thursday, and then typically on a Sunday. All right? Bye-bye.